and now they have they being San Francisco, have the 2-1 lead in this series as that one also continues on. And we'll talk some more about that a little later. I'll talk to Dan. I know he gets all fired up talking some playoff baseball, but man, I'll tell you, what a crazy ending to that one right there. And then Kansas City as well. Speaking of baseball, I don't know if you guys, especially those of you guys locally, I know a lot of you though, the plain dealer, you read the stuff online too on Cleveland.com. They started their series looking at some of the free agents here, and Mike Brandenberry will be with us later on this week. Those guys are doing a lot of the same things here, but third base is a position that a lot of people are interested in, potentially what the Indians may or may not do there, depending on their thoughts, long-term, short-term, etc., about Lonnie Chisenhall and how much of what they saw was real. And I'll tell you what, he's better than a lot of the options. The PD today, this is what brought it to my attention. Today was third base, and they were looking at a couple of the free agents and stuff, and I've got the free agent list and things, but sometimes it's easier. You see it, broken down like that. I mean, really, you got Sandoval, obviously, Kung Fu Panda out there. Aramis Ramirez, Chase Headley. I'm not a big. I know some people do like him. Those are the three kind of top of the heap guys that they spotlighted there, and besides the fact that I'm looking at the dollar signs that are getting ready to just cha-ching on all of those guys. I like Sandoval. He's a switch hitter and durable. I definitely I can see, but I mean, the Indians aren't going somewhere like that. And here's the key to it. Forget the guys at the top, because they're not going after those guys. After that, phew, man, I mean, we're going back to Jack Hanahan. No offense, I like Jack Hanahan. I liked that guy when he was here. But I mean, Mark Reynolds, we're down into that level of guys, so it's a quick steep drop off from the first couple to that next level. That's kind of always the case in free agency. But yeah, anybody that's thinking of maybe they move Chisenhall to the out, I don't know how, because I'm positive that Giovanni Urshela is not ready to come up yet. He's a year or two away at least. So unless I'm crazy wrong about that, and we'll talk to Mike about that later on this week too. But other than that, I mean, Lonnie Chisenhall has to be your best bet, because I'm just looking at this and I'm going, there's no way, man. Even if you overspend, you're not getting any quality, like I said, unless you go back into that, hey, we're going to take a chance on a guy like Mark Reynolds kind of thing, and we've already gone that direction. But so anyways, just something I noticed as they keep each day, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I agree, Chris. I said that before, man. I mean, unless I'm now obviously Victor cutting a check for a guy like that is different. But yeah, outside of a move like that, it's going to come in a trade. And there is some places of strength, as we've talked about several times, man. There are some places where it can be a win-win. I love that. So many people think that the trade market has to be, who can you hornswoggle? Who can you hoodwink the most? Sometimes there's got to be a win-win. And when you've got depth in the minors, you can do that. Tribe is good at making trades. I always say, why are they better at making trades? But you know what? They're not as good at making trades at the major league level as they are at the prospect level. For some reason, they're much better at identifying another club's young prospects and finding the good ones, as we've seen what they're able to do. So, but yeah, that I agree. Something there. But you never know, too. I mean, for people that say, I'm going to throw Victor out there because you guys know I'm riding that train as hard as I can. For people that say, well, you can't because you've already got. Well, if you did, then you may not already got, because as much as I talk about how much I'd like to see Santana and Victor and those guys in that lineup together, it just creating that middle of the lineup that people don't want to mess with. At the same time, I mean, there's a lot of other teams interested. There's talent that now opens itself up as well. And perhaps, you're able to swing a guy like Santana into a pitcher, a certain level of guy. I mean, see, that's the thing is I hold more value in Carlos Santana, I think, than some fans do. And I hope you're not one of them. Don't undervalue what he brings to the table. And like I said that before, I'm not big on just giving him away just to clear room. But yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, Bruce, I don't know. I wonder that myself, to be honest with you. Bruce in the chat room asking if not bringing up Lindor was like a message or so. I don't know, but it was interesting. But I mean, really, I think they just had to have felt that they were good with what they were getting from Ramirez, and perhaps that by the time Lindor had caught up, it would hurt the team, number one. Number two, that's mainly the main thing, is that they ended up still in contention when they didn't. That's the best way to put it. Dan and I said that, and he'll say it again later on in the show. They didn't expect to stick in it like they did. I know the front office will tell you that they did, because they can't tell you otherwise, but they didn't. They thought they were going to, I don't know if they thought they were going to fade completely away, but I don't believe in my heart that the front office thought that team was going to gut it out and come as close as they did to still finishing things. I thought that they thought it was going to be a slow fade down the end. I think obviously a lot of people did, but I really do believe that the front office just didn't think it was their year. We knew what they did at the trade deadline by bringing in some prospects, and that kind of showed that there. But so maybe that changed their plans there too, because they thought, okay, cool, we'll get Lindor up here in September and we'll give him some time. Because I remember when we were talking about it on the air, I said the one thing I wouldn't do if I'm the Indians is bring him up here if he's not going to play. And if he's not ready and you're in the playoff hunt, which the Indians were all the way until the end of the season, you can't bring him up because he's just going to sit on the bench. And to me, you're not going to get that's not the point of his career where that's going to help him. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe for a week to get used to it. But, I mean, really, it's not going to do you any good to sit there and rot on the bench at that level when you're young and you still need so much developmental time. So I think that's more what it was. I don't think it was any kind of sending a message as much as they did not expect. They thought they were going to be able to get him up and playing in the last month of the season, and I just think that that they fooled themselves. I'm telling you, the front office fooled themselves out of a trade deadline deal. Maybe one day they will admit that. Maybe like a year from now, Terry Pluto will be sitting down and Shapiro will admit, yeah, we underplayed it a bit. We didn't expect the team to make the run that they did, because it really feels that way. And so anyways, but that's more my thoughts on that. But man, now that's a great problem to have. Just like, yes, you notice, by the way, I didn't no hostility, nobody. You guys tried. Several of you sent me messages about that, guy that I don't care for, and I'm not going to let you tease me. I'm not. I'm in a much better mood today. But much like talking about the Browns actually having a good problem with the problem at quarterback, which I don't know how you can term that a problem, actually having a quarterback, and maybe even having two, maybe. I don't know. Whew, now we're just getting crazy with things here. We're not allowed to do that. But anyways, good problem to have. And having depth at some of these positions, trying to figure out if it's Ramirez or Lindor, and being able to make a move, and that's a good problem to have. I'd rather have that than the alternative. That's for sure, guys. All right. Hey, speaking of the alternatives, couple of things real quick before we open up the phone line. I'm going to open up the phone lines now. 216-539-7535. I've got Eddy Jansen coming on just about 10 minutes from now. We're going to talk some Cavaliers. 216-539-7535. Bengals signed Greg Little. I'm telling you, for those of you guys also looking to see signs of good for everybody. Hey, listen, the AFC North is helping you out as you go along here, Cleveland. The AFC North chipping into the battle, if you will, as they are weakening themselves. Marvin Jones, all joking aside, Marvin Jones not going to be able to come back for the Cincinnati Bengals. They've got A.J. Green, so they signed former Browns wide receiver Greg Little. I was joking yesterday off the air. I said he had to scratch off the circle for the Raiders game, but now he recircled. So believe that he's recircled now the other game here, and but that's a good thing, because now he can drop passes for Andy Dalton, and he can continue to make NFL fans in Cincinnati feel as awesome as he. No, listen, I'm having fun because Greg Little can't catch a cold, but he does work very hard. I like Greg Little. I really do. He did improve during his time here. I have to be fair. I'm not one of those guys that can just bash for no reason. I like him, but he can't catch. He can't catch, man. He can, but he can't at the same time. I don't know if is that a backhanded compliment? He can, but he can't at the same time. Okay, so I'm just nicely trying to say that the man can't catch. And now he's not going to catch for Cincinnati, so that could help the Browns Browns, as we know a few weeks from now, that matchup looming there, and that's a team that many people are looking at to be upwards in the division. So keep in mind there that now we bleed at it. Circled. Greg Little, playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Speaking of NFL, real quick. Oh, I got the phones ringing. I'm going to go to the phones here in just a second. Also, the NFL fined yesterday, speaking of Cincinnati, Vontaze Burfict $25,000 as he was fined for twisting the ankles of Cam Newton and Greg Olsen. We were talking about that during yesterday's show. He's also been warned that he is a repeat offender and is now subject to escalating discipline, and future results will be even higher as far as the discipline given. Of course, I watched it. My thought personally was that he's a dirty player, but there's a lot of those guys. I know that's the straw man's argument, because just because there's a lot of other guys that also do the same thing doesn't make it okay. There's a whole lot of bank robbers out there, but that doesn't make it okay to rob the bank. All right, I'm going to go to the phones before I go to the break. Since I talked so long, I'm going to turn it over to you. Eddy Jansen, Talking Cavs, coming up just about 10 minutes from now, but you're talking first here on the Sports Fix. Caller, you're up.
Good morning, J-Rock.
Good morning.
Hey, a couple things. The baseball playoffs. Kansas City.
Kansas City. We're real quick. Did you heard me talking? I'm sure. It could easily be the Indians. That's the only reason that I just like going because that really. That's the formula, though, man. That they've got a lot of those same characteristics that you felt when you watched the Indians last year and this year. But go ahead. Anyways, I just had to throw.
I like the fact that most of the team is built from their minor league system
internally as well. So but remember, just keep in mind, because I know you and I don't know if you heard me mention this on the show. You and I are very similar in certain aspects when it comes to how we look at the Indians. And keep in mind, we talk about the payroll, you and I, off the air a lot. $30 million higher, even for that small market team, than the Indians. That's kind of a stark contrast, and that'll show you that little bit of a difference that takes a team from one level to the next. And we know, it's not just what you spend, but how you spend, But going out and getting Shields, that's a move that can't be overstated for that team. But you're right. Most of it is what the formula will be if the Indians get this thing rolling here. A young core that you brought up yourself. Maybe you didn't draft them all. Maybe you traded for some other people's draft picks, but you brought them up through your system, and it's your young core coming together.
Exactly. And you look at the Cardinals and the Royals, there's $86 million difference between payroll.
And you know what's crazy, though, is the Cardinals are also one of those teams that develop very well from within, but they'll also spend money in the free agent market. That's where that big difference comes, because you would think by having so much self-grown talent that their payroll would be lower because they don't have to spend as much in free agency, but it's not. It doesn't work out that way. But yeah.
For some reason, the Cardinals just, I don't know if they want to call it overspending or they pay for, Bruce, I guess you would call it,
look at the success.
People that stay with you forever, they loyalty.
But there's something to be said for that too, man, because if I know that I'm truly going to be taken care of by you on the back end of my career, I'm surely going to give you everything that I've got on the front end. So maybe that's part of the reason that they have the success that they do. I know there's some people that just don't like the Cardinals, but I do. I like those guys. I like St. Louis.
Okay, did you happen to see the catch by Moose last night? The foul ball that he dove into the dugout suite?
Yeah.
Not one fan reached up to get the ball. Everybody reached up to catch Moustakas as he was falling in the stands. Not one person got in his way. There was no fan interference on the ball or anything. And the reason why I bring that up was because the Cubs, it was the anniversary, I don't know if it was the 21st anniversary or whatever, of when that kid reached over the stands and took the ball away from the Cubs.
Oh, what was his name? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Guy, as soon as it pops in my head, I'll remember it. But yes, I know exactly what game you're talking about. That's
what it reminded me of when he dove into the stands. There was not one fan reached for the ball. You know, they didn't want the Cubs syndrome or whatever.
Right. You know it. Didn't that bring it? That was what brought it back from the 3-0.
And it was